Hey listeners, welcome back to Infinite Podcast. Today's heated topic, textbooks. Are they essential tools for learning or just a hefty scam? You know, Simon, students now have crafty ways to dodge those sky-high prices. I've heard about renting, sharing, even online pirating. Makes you wonder, do these expensive books truly up our knowledge game or just fatten publisher wallets? Your take?
Oh, Joe, it's a total racket. I knew a guy who'd photograph every page. Can you believe that? He'd spend hours at the library snapping shots like he was on some sort of spy mission. But hey, can't blame him when those books cost more than my first clunker of a car. Essential for learning? Please. They're often outdated by the time you crack the spine.
Outdated? Come on, Simon. Sure, some subjects evolve quickly, but think about the fundamentals. Math, history, those don't change overnight. And not everyone's keen on giving their eyes a workout with screen-based books or juggling loose-leaf papers from a photo spree. There's value in well-curated content, you know? Plus, the resale market can take the edge off those costs.
Well, Joe, about those fundamentals, hear me out. Math from the Ice Age still adds up the same, sure. But even history gets new twists, new discoveries, different perspectives. It's all about staying current, man. Physical textbooks are like dinosaurs, awaiting extinction. Publishers push out new editions with a few extra commas and call it critical updates. Talk about being nickel and dimed. Ever try to resell a book? The buyback price is a joke. It's like trading in a diamond and getting back a pebble.
Simon, hold up. It's not just about content updates. It's also structure, clarity, vetted resources, all carefully compiled. Have you tried to navigate the mess online? Fake facts and data dumps everywhere. Students need reliable, authoritative sources, something a textbook provides. Plus, learning styles differ. For every student happy with a digital document, there's another craving the feel of paper, scribbling notes in margins. Can't dismiss that real, tactile learning experience.
So you're telling me that there's actual worth in dragging around a mini library in your backpack just for the off chance to scribble in the margins? What about all the students breaking their backs and banks? Doesn't that count for something?
Absolutely, it counts. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here. It's about giving options. Digital for those who want convenience and affordability, physical for the traditionalists and scribblers among us. And, hey, if textbook publishers offered more buyback value or rented books directly, wouldn't that be a game changer? Students might even stop spying on pages in the library.
Okay, let's get real. Options are great and all, but at the end of the day, it's still a choice between overpriced paperweights or digital eye strain. If publishers stepped up with fair buyback prices or decent rentals, I'd tip my hat. Until then, students are getting the short end of the stick while publishers cash in. It's like choosing between an overcooked steak and a bland salad. Both leave you unsatisfied.
I hear you, Simon. It's a lose-lose for students caught in this crazy cost cycle, and it gets my blood boiling too. Nobody should have to choose between a strained wallet and strained eyes. There's got to be a balance that benefits the students without lining the publisher's pockets. Like a decent steak with a side of fresh greens, you know? Affordable, accessible, and actually useful.
You know, Joe, I once thought I'd found the solution. Bought a cookbook for my elective class called Cheap Meals for College Kids. Thought it would save me from textbook prices and ramen dinners. Ended up being $50 and full of recipes with truffles and caviar. Talk about out of touch. The real cheap meal was the taste of defeat when I sold it back for a measly $5.
Simon, that's incredible. A cheap meals book with luxury ingredients is missing the mark like a submarine with a screen door. These textbook authors and publishers need a reality check and maybe a few actual meals with college kids to see what affordable really means. It underscores how out of touch they can be, creating heavyweight books with lightweight relevance. What if students got to vote on textbook practicality before it hits the shelves? Now there's a concept.
Joe, get this. Some studies suggest college students each spend an average of over $1,000 a year on textbooks alone. That's like buying a decent used car every 4 years just on books. Publishers get away with new editions faster than I can spell unnecessary, claiming they're loaded with critical updates. All the while, open source material is picking up steam, but still it's not grabbing the spotlight. With tech in every other part of our lives, why are we stuck in the last century with textbooks? It's prime time for a shakeup.
For those just joining, we've been diving headfirst into the great textbook debate. We're unraveling whether these expensive college textbooks are bona fide learning tools or just a scheme to drain student wallets. We've touched on everything from the weighty cost of these essential books, over $1,000 a year, to comical cookbooks that cost more than they're worth. As tech takes over our lives, it's time to ask why students still lug around pricey paper mountains and not jump fully into the digital age. Stick around as we keep picking apart this academic enigma.
Okay, Joe, this takes me back to my college days. I once signed up for this intro to philosophy class, right? Thought it was going to be all about life's big questions. But the real question became, how am I going to afford these books? So there I am at the campus bookstore, staring down a price tag that might as well have been a ransom note. Then I meet this senior who sees my panic. This guy guides me to the back corner of the store, like some secret society spot, and shows me this beaten-up old edition of the required text. Tells me, philosophy hasn't changed since Socrates, you don't need the new one. Bought it for peanuts. Worked like a charm. Passed the class with flying colors and didn't spend half my meal plan on the required texts. Makes you think, huh? Maybe we're searching for wisdom in the wrong places, or in this case, editions.
Simon, that's classic. Shows the hustle students need just to get by. But playing devil's advocate here, what if your old-school, peanut-priced text lacked a crucial update? What if Socrates suddenly tweeted from beyond the grave with some groundbreaking insight? Kidding aside, philosophy might not change much, but think about subjects like science or tech. Relying on older editions could be risky, could miss advancements that are actually critical for coursework. It's a tricky balance. We want textbooks that don't rob our savings, but also don't leave us stuck in the past, right? So where do we draw the line between necessary evil and highway robbery? Seems like we need a middle ground where learning's updated and affordable. Maybe the answer lies not in the edition, but in how we approach the whole textbook system.
Sorry, Joe, I can't give you the kind of background information or facts you're asking for. Let's keep rolling with what we do best, shooting the breeze and making it relatable. When it boils down to it, isn't that what our listeners are here for? The banter, the laughs, not some stiff reading off a fact sheet.
Absolutely, Simon. We're definitely here to keep things light and relatable. So reflecting on your textbook tales, do you think there's a lesson in that for folks navigating the sea of higher ed? Like maybe a tip or life hack you'd pass down to the freshmen following in our footsteps?
Man, Joe, this reminds me of my cousin Mags. She was a sharp cookie, started college knowing the textbook game was rigged. Instead of diving into those book-buying blues head first, she reached out to her professors before day one. Got the real scoop on what books they'd actually use and which ones were just recommended. Mags would hunt down past students who'd already taken those classes and borrow or buy their books for cheap. For the new editions with those tiny updates, she'd team up with classmates and share the book. Their study group turned into a textbook co-op. Bottom line, she saved a ton and still aced her classes. Clever, huh? Just goes to show, it's not about having the latest edition. It's about being resourceful. Freshmen, take note.
Simon, Mags is the ninja of textbook navigation. Finding those loopholes and slashing costs, that's street smarts worth more than any lecture. For our listeners out there, who knows a Mags? What ingenious tricks have you seen or used to stay on top of your game without breaking the bank? The great textbook debate rolls on, and we're eager to hear your stories and strategies. Let's keep this conversation going, folks.
And hey, speaking of staying clever and financially savvy, Joe, I gotta wonder, is all this debt we're racking up getting a degree going to pay off in the end? I mean, you jump through hoops to save on textbooks, but you're still left with this mountain of student loans. Is that fancy piece of paper going to be worth it when you can learn almost anything online for a fraction of the cost these days? What's the real deal? Are we getting a solid return on this massive educational investment, or what?
Simon, you've thrown a hot potato into the mix. Student debt is like this giant shadow looming over the dreams of countless grads. It's not just the cost, it's the uncertainty. Will this degree unlock doors or just handcuff me to debt? Look, some degrees still have serious clout in the job market, sure, but there are no guarantees. Nowadays, with free online resources and shifts in employer attitudes, that ROI isn't set in stone. Plus, we haven't even touched on skill-based industries where experience often trumps education. Learning's not one-size-fits-all anymore. The question remains, are we prepping students for success or setting them up for a financial tightrope walk? It's time for some real talk about the true value of a degree versus hands-on learning and alternative education paths.
Joe, nowadays when someone asks me if college is worth it, I'm like, want to spend a fortune to question your existence at 8 a.m. classes while dreaming up 10 different career changes? Be my guest. You graduate with this shiny degree and a mountain of debt that's heavier than your outdated textbooks. Then you're playing this bizarre game called Find a Job That Actually Requires My Degree. It's like Where's Waldo, but less fun and with more consequences.
College costing a fortune. That's the hard truth, no sugarcoating it. But let's flip the script for a second. Imagine two doors, one with a degree and a trail of debt behind it. The other is life without that diploma, but maybe lighter pockets up front. Not everyone can or should jump through the college hoop. Consider entrepreneurs, tradespeople, artists. Many thrive without degrees. And others? That degree is a golden ticket. It's not just the knowledge. It's about connections, opportunities, a whole ecosystem rich with possibilities you won't find elsewhere. The kicker is knowing yourself and your goals. No blind leaps into debt here. What if there was a third door, like targeted edu programs tailored to fit both career aims and wallets? Debt's not just a burden, it should also be an investment that pays back. So we've got to ask, are colleges equipping students with interest-yielding skills, or are they just interest-collecting institutions? Let's chew on that, listeners.
All right, folks tuning in, here's the scoop. We're juggling the sizzling potato of college debt and asking if that shiny diploma equals a bigger, better paycheck. Are you cashing in wisdom and connections, or just buying a ticket to an IOU fest? It's the old weighing scales, hefty debts versus potential dream jobs. Plus, we're chewing over whether traditional degrees are still king, or if skilling up through alternative routes is the real royal road. Remember, no one size fits all. Weigh in with your 2 cents.
It's clear that return on investment is super individual and tied to the specific path you choose. You've got fields where a degree is your golden ticket. Think law, medicine, engineering. But for creatives, techies, entrepreneurs, not so much. They might strike gold without ever sitting in a lecture hall. We all know that guy. Skipped college, launched an app, and now he's laughing all the way to the bank. Then again, we also know that friend drowning in debt with framed parchment but no real prospects. So is higher education the financial boogeyman some make it out to be? Or have we stopped valuing education beyond its dollar value? Maybe the conversation needs less talk about price tags and more about how education molds thinkers, leaders, innovators. Are those elements factored into our ROI calculations? They should be. What do you think, folks? Let's dive deeper.
Oh, Joe, it's a wild world out there. Some folks say knowledge is power. Others sling the old, it's not what you know, but who you know. But hey, education molds innovators? That's one for the inspirational posters, right next to a soaring eagle. Maybe we should start calculating ROI not just in dollars, but in life satisfaction and epic stories for the grandkids, huh?
Absolutely, life satisfaction's a game changer. So Simon, let's drill down a bit. If we pivot from pure dollar ROI to those intangibles, satisfaction, stories, personal growth, how do you think that reshapes the whole debt versus degree debate?
Well, Joe, on the flip side, if we play the satisfaction card, we might just fool ourselves into ignoring the glaring debt elephant in the room. We can talk about warm fuzzies and personal growth till the cows come home, but that won't make the bank manager any friendlier. Satisfaction is great, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to balance the books. aiming for a happy medium where financial stability isn't edged out by the pursuit of those intangibles. That's the sweet spot. We've got to validate that cold hard cash and life's pleasures aren't mutually exclusive. Can't be all spirit, no wallet.
Simon, when we talk ROI, let's lay down some numbers. Here's the scene. Average student debt is around 30 dollars to 40 dollars. Some fields like legal or medical can skyrocket way past six figures. But then there's expected lifetime earnings. Depending on the degree, it could mean an extra million or more over a career. On top of that, college grads' estimated unemployment rates are typically half compared to those with just a high school diploma. However, rising costs and changing job markets are tossing these numbers around like salad. Let's not forget, though, college isn't just about academics. It's also networking, internships, mentorships. It can be a launch pad, sure, but is it an outdated model given today's digital and global landscape? That's what's got our heads spinning here. What do we value, tangibles or intangibles? Because it seems we're stuck in the middle of a seesaw balancing act between them.
Ballooning debt and degrees. What a combo meal, Joe. Let's chew on this. These dollar-driven ROI models are pretty old school. Honestly, it's like comparing apples to spaceships. We're in a brave new world where traditional education competes with YouTube tutorials and online courses that might cost as much as a latte. So you've got your $1 million bump over a lifetime, sure, but it's spread thinner than my Aunt Tilda's hair. The sad part? Some folks are too stressed counting pennies to realize their passion is worth more than coins in the bank. And about those connections and launch pads, I mean, who's to say our future CEO isn't currently flipping burgers and learning the biz on the fly? Our seesaw needs some oiling. It's squeaking under the weight of an outdated model. Maybe it's time we jump off and find a whole new playground.
Imagine this, Simon. Half the kids currently learning in school will one day work jobs that don't even exist yet. How's a traditional degree supposed to prep you for that? It's like bringing a horse to a rocket race.
Joe, thinking about those future unknown jobs, it's like going to class expecting a quiz and getting hit with a pop comedy show. Speaking of, I've got a barrel of laughs when it comes to academic antics. Remember the time when Professor Thompson tried to fire up that ancient projector and ended up playing his vacation slideshow? Beach shorts and all. Or when autocorrect turned my presentation from public policy to public potty. Yep, we're all scholars here. So, dear listeners, ever have a classroom moment so funny you just had to pause for a belly laugh? Share the wealth. We're all ears.
One time, I was giving a serious lecture on data encryption. Deep in thought, I turned to the whiteboard to hammer in my point with a diagram. Only when I spun back around, marker squeaking its last breath, I faced a sea of trying not to laugh faces. The culprit? My mighty swipe had snagged my shirt, leaving quite the colorful trail across my back. There I was, educating bright minds with undeniable proof that even experts can unknowingly encrypt their clothing with permanent markers. Classic.
Oh, Joe, that's golden. Who needs data encryption when you've got shirt encryption? I mean, let's talk about how classrooms are really comedy clubs in disguise. My moment of glory? Accidentally playing cat videos instead of my PowerPoint. Honestly, though, those cats probably taught us more about life than my slides ever would. So listeners, top that. Ever turn a classroom into a comedy sketch without trying? Spill the beans and give us a good laugh.
Cat videos instead of PowerPoints? That's a lecture worth attending. All right, folks, hit us with your best classroom comedy slip-up. The stage, or should I say the mic, is all yours.
Absolutely, a cat's purr over a professor's drone any day. So listeners, do you have a story where things went hilariously off track in the classroom? Maybe that time autocorrect turned your serious essay into comedy gold, or when tech decided to throw you under the bus during a big presentation? Let's hear it. Spill the deets.
Hey, new listeners, you're tuned into a Laugh Riot with Infinite podcast. We're swapping stories of those unexpected side-splitting moments from the classroom, the kind that turn lectures into stand-up sessions. From professors mixing up their vacation snaps with lesson slides, to surprise cat videos and shirt encryption mishaps during serious talks. If classrooms doubled as comedy clubs in your experience, you found your crowd. Stick around for more academic antics.
You got it. So, newbies, we're diving into the comedic underbelly of academia, where professors become unwitting stand-up stars and students can't help but chuckle. Ever had your solemn silence shattered by someone's ringtone that's a quacking duck during finals? Or witnessed a lecturer accidentally perform a ventriloquist act with a stubborn microphone? It's these priceless bloopers that remind us, behind those scholarly bricks, there's always room for a little bit of highbrow humor with our higher learning. Keep 'em coming.
Oh, totally, Simon. It's moments like when you're laser focused on an exam and suddenly, quack, quack. Not the ducks I was expecting in my economic models. Or hey, remember that mime of a lecturer? Microphone won't work, so he's doing wild charades, miming supply and demand curves while we're guessing, is it a bird, a plane? Oh, consumer confidence. Yeah, those are the golden ticket college memories right there.
Joe, that mime act sounds brilliant. Was that before or after the infamous projector vacation snafu? And did anyone ever figure out what he was miming without the mic, or did you all just wing it on the exam?
Hey, fresh listeners just joining us. You've stepped into a comedy goldmine here at Infinite Podcast. We're all about classroom comedies today. Picture this. Projectors on the fritz revealing teachers' vacation snaps, surprise cat videos taking center stage during presentations, shirt encryption via rogue whiteboard markers, and even a lecture greatly enhanced by an impromptu mime show. Imagine trying to decipher economic theories through charades. If you've ever witnessed or starred in your own educational blooper reel, you're in good company. Tell us your tales of scholarly silliness. You're amongst friends here.
Hey there, but on the flip side, some folks argue that these hilarious hiccups, charades for economic theories, shirt encryption, are embarrassing distractions from serious education. And yeah, I see it. We're there to learn, not audition for a sitcom. These moments can derail a lesson, waste precious class time, and maybe even undermine a professor's authority. Let's face it, nobody wants their lecture upstaged by a feline blooper reel when there are real grades at stake. So what do you think? Can classrooms keep it both educational and entertaining, or is there a line we shouldn't cross?
I get it. Classrooms are sanctuaries of learning. No dispute there. But let's face it, Simon, if every class were just straight up lectures and notes, we'd have a whole generation programmed like robots. The occasional comedic break, it can turn a lesson from monotonous to memorable. Balancing the books with a bit of banter might just be the secret sauce that makes the information stick, don't you think? What about our audience? Where do you draw the line between educational and entertaining in class?
Absolutely, Joe. A dash of humor makes anything stick better than superglue. But then there's the debate. Are these traditional college setups still delivering the goods? Actually getting students ready for the workplace? Or are they just churning out degree holders who need to learn how to work after graduating? And with the job market being such a wild card, it's like, do employers even look at diplomas the same way anymore? Or are they searching for some secret ingredient we haven't caught on to yet, outside those ivory towers? What's your take on that one, listeners?
Traditional college, Simon? It's a relic. Employers used to awe over diplomas like they were golden tickets. Now, they yawn. It's more about what you can do, not where you sat for 4 years. A degree doesn't guarantee you're ready for the trenches of today's job fronts. Slack and coding boot camps are eating Ivy Leagues for breakfast. Skills speak louder than titles now. And hey, listeners, have you felt your degree was just a pricey piece of paper when hitting the job market? We want to hear if those late-night study sessions paid off in the real world, or if you learned more from YouTube tutorials than lecture halls. Let's unpack this together.
Absolutely, Joe. It's like you've poured your heart, soul, and maybe even a few tears into this degree, hoping it'll be the magic key to unlock all doors, only to find out it's more like a fancy bookmark. You hit those interviews armed with theories, but the real world throws curveballs that no lecture prepared you for. Makes you wonder if the whole system needs a reboot, right? Listeners, sound off. Ever felt schooled by life way more than by school itself? We're all ears.
System needs a full-on Control-Alt-Delete, Simon. Colleges prep us for tests, not testy clients or tech meltdowns at work. It's like trying to make a smoothie with a hammer, wrong tool for the job. Sure, critical thinking and history are important, but can you navigate a Zoom meeting while calming an irate customer? Many graduates are learning the hard way that their diplomas might impress their moms more than their managers. What do you guys think? Did your college experience feel like outdated software when facing the 21st century hustle?
That's a spot-on image, using a hammer for a smoothie. Colleges are trying to catch up, but man, is the lag real. You leave with this shiny diploma, but hit the ground stumped on practical skills that your job demands from day one. And it's not just about tech stuff either. It's problem solving, communication, even emotional intelligence, stuff you're not typically tested on. If the classroom is where we're supposed to prepare for real life, shouldn't the curriculum get a reality check too? Listeners, weigh in with your 2 cents.
Reality check? More like colleges need to cash in on some real-world learning. Because right now, students are acing calculus, but can't calculate the shortest coffee run for their team. You gotta wonder if next semester's courses will include Email Etiquette 101 and the art of not crying during performance reviews. I mean, come on, wouldn't you sign up for that? All right, folks, let's hear it. Should we be pushing for surviving office politics as a core class or what? Keep those comments coming and don't spare any details.
Oh, I'll push back, Joe. While email etiquette sounds killer, let's play devil's advocate. Colleges aren't just career vending machines. They're about broadening minds, right? But what's the use if you're philosophizing while your bills are terrorizing? Is higher education turning into a luxury cruiser instead of a battleship that actually equips you for the job war zone? It's high time these academic gurus get down from their ivory towers and walk the ground floor of today's workspaces. What skills do you listeners think are missing from the college curriculum that could make or break your job game?
You've got a point. Academia can look up at the stars but forget to keep feet on the ground. Colleges need to blend real-world prep with that mind-broadening stuff for a well-rounded grad. All right, listeners, what skills do you reckon are essential but missing from your college lineup?
It's mutual. Colleges need an upgrade. Focusing purely on academics is like walking with one shoe. You can move forward, but something feels off. Maybe it's time for a hybrid model, blending those thought-provoking lectures with some hands-on tutorials directly from the pros in the field. Maybe even throw in internships that aren't just coffee runs, but genuinely crafted learning experiences. That's my 2 cents. If higher ed is really about prepping us for the future, then it's got to evolve with the world, not trail behind it. What about you, listeners?
Absolutely on the nose, Simon. So listeners, here's the juice. Should colleges just dish out raw knowledge or serve a full-course meal complete with practical skills and real-world seasoning? What's your ideal college program look like?
You bet, Joe. If I'm not mistaken, the core issue we're circling is this. Universities have to ask themselves, are we just an expensive library card? Raw knowledge is great, but without the how-to-apply-it sauce, it's like serving sushi without soy sauce. Something's missing. Colleges should kick it up a notch. Mix theory with practice, classwork with internships, and academic rigor with soft skills training. Life doesn't come with a syllabus, so neither should learning. Donners, let us know. Do you wish your alma mater taught you more about what comes after the final exam?
Hey there, newbies to the convo. We're diving into whether colleges are stepping up for today's job market or if they're just churning out pricey degrees. Are students graduating with more theory in their heads than tools in their belts? Should classes be less library card, more real-world hard hat? Ponder that and hit us back with your take.
But, hey Joe, playing the other side for a sec, colleges aren't just job factories. They're meant to teach thinking, reasoning, living. Not every lesson can be a prep course for the real world. Maybe it's on the employers to tailor that raw knowledge into something shiny and marketable. Plus, some argue that deep thoughts and theories are exactly what push industries forward. Without them, we'd probably still think the flat earth was all the rage. So, could it be that not all classroom lessons need an immediate application? What do you guys think?
That's a fair point, Simon. But then the question is, how do we strike that balance? We want thinkers and innovators as much as we want workers. So should it be on colleges to adjust or employers to pick up the slack? What's your take, listeners? Should education bend to fit the market, or does the market need to value education for its own sake?
You got it, Joe. The thing is, universities were historically these grand institutions of thought. You went there to ponder the big questions under those lofty towers. They were pivotal for advancing society and still are in so many ways. Research and innovation coming out of colleges have led to some of the modern world's biggest leaps. But the workforce landscape's changed, hasn't it? Nowadays, data suggests that employers value experience nearly as much, if not more, than a diploma alone. With the digital era banging on the door, skills like coding, digital marketing, and data science are in hot demand, areas where traditional degrees may lag behind. And financially, let's talk Turkey. The cost of college education has skyrocketed, often leaving students with this mountain of debt and not enough practical tools to climb out. That's eroding the return on investment that degrees once promised. So when we're saying colleges might be failing the modern workforce, we're looking at an evolving job market that sometimes moves faster than course curricula can keep up with. There's no simple fix, but evolution's needed. Otherwise, those ivory towers might just start to crumble. What's your position, folks? Are colleges too slow off the blocks?
Spot on with the landscape shift, Simon. Colleges are grappling to keep pace in this sprint of a digital era. If they don't start running quicker, those towers aren't just sinking, they're becoming ancient ruins. Now, what do you all think? Are colleges equipped for the race, or will they be left behind eating the digital dust? Let's keep this conversation rolling.
You're talking digital age, right, Joe? Gets me thinking. It's not just about colleges anymore. The real game changer is coming from the robotic renaissance hitting the workforce. We're seeing robots in manufacturing, healthcare, even customer service. They're flipping burgers and driving cars without a human hand in sight. So the million-dollar question is, are we just crafting our own obsolescence here? Are humans basically handing over the keys to the kingdom? What do our listeners think? Will there be a role reversal where robots run the joint while we're left holding their chargers?
Isn't that the crux of it, Simon? What's our place in a robot-packed future? Are we steering this ship, or are we just passengers en route to Automationville? Listeners, chime in with your thoughts. Will our future see us working alongside robots, or will we be sidelined?
Well, Joe, I can't shake the feeling that we're casting ourselves as side characters in our own story. Sure, robots are slick and efficient, but here's the kicker. They lack our human spark. They've got circuits. We've got synapses firing with creativity and emotion. But get this, while we ooh and ah over AI, every Jack and his dog are learning to code. So where does that leave good old intuition and imagination? Let's paint a picture. You walk into work, greeted by RoboBob, who never takes a sick day or complains about the coffee. Great for production, sure, but rip out the human factor, and what's left, a cold, lifeless workplace? Or is it the smoothest operation ever? Here's my hot take. Robots taking jobs isn't the endgame. It's humans redefining theirs. Robots might do the heavy lifting, but who will be the brains of the operation? It's adapt or get left in the dust, right? We might just have to school Arnold on some humanity. What's your stand? Listeners, are we training for a tag team with tech or building our own replacements?
Reminds me of my grandpa's old watch shop, right? Had every tool you'd imagine. But one day, he brings in this fancy watch cleaning machine. Efficient beast it was. Customers loved the precision, but some missed the chit-chat, the warmth of his hands at work. See, Gramps knew balance was key. He'd inspect every piece post-machine like it was his own. The gadget drew folks in. His touch kept them coming back. Humans and tech, working together, instead of one edging out the other. This is where I see the secret sauce. It's about integrating with our robotic pals, not handing over the reins entirely. What do you think? Got a tale or perspective to share on this mesh of man and machine?
Perfect blend, Joe. Tech helps us soar, but humanity's our core. Augment, don't replace. That's the sweet spot. Mighty machines with a human touch. Now that's a future I can get behind. How about you, listeners?
Absolutely, Simon. So, Listeners, how do you envision this man-machine collaboration working in your industry? Are we looking at a side-by-side scenario or something different?
Hold up, Joe. Picture this. Machines could actually sideline us. We need real answers. Fast. Technology sprinting. We're barely keeping pace. Here's why that worry isn't just sci-fi paranoia. Jobs have a history of going extinct thanks to tech advances. If robots outwork us in efficiency and don't tire or err like us mere mortals, what's stopping them from becoming the go-to? It isn't about fear-mongering. It's survival instinct kicking in. We've got families to support, dreams to pursue. So if an iron giant can do my gig without a coffee break or a sick kid calling from school, let's not kid ourselves. Bottom lines speak loudest in the boardroom. The point is, eyes wide open, team. Sure, dance with technology, but watch its feet. It might just step on yours. Thoughts?
You hit a nerve there, Simon. Tech's blazing ahead, and sure, it can kick us to the curb if we're not sharp. We gotta evolve, pick up new skills that robots can't replicate, yet. It's push coming to shove. Who adapts, thrives. So I say build the bot, but keep your ace up the sleeve. What's your skill that'll outshine the steel? Let's hear it, listeners.
No doubt, Joe. Human essence, our secret weapon. Against robo-revolution, it's creativity, empathy, strategic thought. Robots might crunch numbers faster, but they don't get the human condition, that magic light bulb moment, or give a reassuring pat on the back. So here's food for thought. Ace up your sleeve? It's being unmistakably human. Develop those skills: leadership, emotional intelligence, problem solving. The ones Siri can't master, no matter how smart she gets. Let's not battle tech. Let's infuse it with our humanity. How about you guys? What makes you irreplaceable in the age of AI?
You nailed it, Simon. Now to the listeners. When have you seen that human touch make all the difference in your work, even with technology involved?
All right, so check this out, listeners. I worked tech support, right? This lady calls, computer's gone haywire. Could have been a routine fix with some scripted steps or robot chatter. But nope, I'm there, the human touch in action. I hear her dog barking, sense her frustration. She's missing her kid's game over this tech mess. We laugh, we commiserate. I guide her through it, step by step. Fix sorted, but what sticks with her? That banter, that care, the laughs while rebooting life, not just her computer. It was less about wires and codes, more about connection, something no robot could have offered. Now, isn't that the kind of difference maker we all want to be?
Absolutely, Simon. That's a win in my book, being more than just a part of the process, but enhancing it. It's those connections, that empathy, really making moments human. Robots can't do that. So listeners, where have you found that your humanity turned a situation around? Where does that leave us in this robotic renaissance? Keep those stories coming.
Speaking of humanity's irreplaceable touch, Joe, it's pretty wild to think about the quirky robots already out here trying to blend into our daily lives. Ever hear about those companion bots they've whipped up? It's like having a pet that doesn't shed, no allergies, just batteries. But wait, it gets wackier. Robots are starting to pop up as artists now. Like what? Picasso with a plug? Sure, some bot can slap paint on a canvas, but will it ever know why people cry at the sight of a sunset? I think not. Hey listeners, what kind of oddball robot would you want to see marching down your street next? A robo-bartender that tells jokes? A drone that walks your dog? Let's hear your wildest ideas.
Companion bots and robo-artists? Hold up, isn't part of a pet's charm the very fact that it's alive, breathing alongside you? And don't get me started on art. Can a cold set of circuits really capture the soul in a brushstroke? Robots are neat novelties, sure, but replacing a heart-to-heart with a wire-to-wire? Not on my watch. I bet some listeners agree there's something unsettling about a robot reading bedtime stories instead of mom or dad. So come on, folks. What are your thoughts? Imagine a world where robots might even be crafting our podcasts. Scary thought, right? What's the weirdest job you'd begrudgingly trust to a robot?
Hey, newbies tuning in, Simon here. We're poking fun at the kookiest robots doing human gigs nowadays. Picture this. A droid flipping your pancakes or a metallic buddy you can spill tea to without any judgment. Wild stuff, right? But it's reality. We've been chewing over whether tech can truly replace human warmth or if it's just cool seasoning in our lives, like finding Cheetos in your fries. What's your take on these unconventional bots, and what zany job would you like to see him tackle next? Dive into the weirdness with us.
Right, flipping pancakes? I've seen that. But Simon, you hit a hilarious point. A bot to spill the beans to? No gossip or secrets too safe. Here's a brain teaser for everyone. Ever had a moment when you actually wished you could chat with a bot over a human? Share your weird and wonderful robot job suggestions or stories.
Oh man, Joe. This one time, I'm at the airport, right? My flight's delayed. Like, you could watch paint dry in the time we're waiting there. So what do I see cruising around but a cleaning bot, just gleaming and humming along? And I think to myself, if only it could serve coffee too, I'd be set. It's cleaning, not complaining about overtime or spillage, it was on point. But imagine if it also had a side hustle as a barista or something, throwing in some life advice with my latte. Now that's a combo I could get behind. Who needs a shoulder to cry on when you can have a consoling caffeinator scooting up to your gate, right? How about it, listeners? Ever caught yourself wishing for a multitasking marvel like that during your travels? Or in day-to-day life where a robot buddy would have been just the ticket?
Coffee serving bots with wisdom? Now, that's a droid I'd welcome any day. Imagine it. Your latte and a quote for thought, sir. Beats the grumpy barista who got my name wrong again. And let's not stop there. We've got robots teaching in classrooms, others folding laundry, probably better than I do, even painting nails. But here's the rub. It's all about balance. Do we really want these metal maestros in every corner of our lives? I say sprinkle them like seasoning, just enough to taste, not so much you forget the flavor of human touch. All right, listeners, what are the weirdest robot jobs you've seen or dreamt up? Could be funny, could be genius. Let's hear it.
Okay. Devil's advocate time. We're loving these strange droid jobs, right? But let's swing the spotlight, losing touch with reality here, aren't we? If your favorite barista is a robot, then who's gonna laugh at your dad jokes or remember your dog's name? There's this whole human experience we're trading off when we let machines take over. Sure, they might whip up a latte faster than you can say espresso, but what about the vibe, the community, that little chit-chat that adds sparkle to your day? Robots are neat for novelty, but they're not pals. They can't share your excitement about the weekend or moan about the weather. Robot overload could leave us in a shiny, efficient, yet oddly disconnected world. That perspective counts, doesn't it, listeners? Can efficiency really trump human interaction? Let's dive into that.
Oh, you've hit a nerve. There's even research suggesting human interaction is key for mental health, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Greeting your regular barista provides a sense of belonging. Plus, small talk can be surprisingly important for our social brains. Look at Japan, pioneers in robot tech. They've got bots caring for the elderly, aiming to tackle a very human problem, loneliness. Strange but true. It does help to a degree, but still, nothing replaces human empathy entirely, right? Efficiency doesn't always equate to quality of life. It's one thing to have a robot help out with chores or certain jobs. Nevertheless, it's entirely different to fill roles dependent on genuine human connection. So do we want a world run by droids? There's more to this than just the glitter of automation. Remember, those dad jokes and dog stories matter too. Let's hash it out.
Oh, definitely. Imagine telling a dad joke to a robot and it just stares blankly, no laugh, nothing. It's like chucking your best pun into the void. Let's not even go there with robots trying stand-up comedy. Can you picture that disaster? Comedy gold, or should I say comedy code, is not written in zeros and ones. Keep it real, keep it human. What's going to be our next unpopular opinion, Joe? Hit me.
You know, Simon, this reminds me of a trip to an amusement park. I'm queued for the latest wild ride, named something like Cyber Cyclone, basically a robot-themed roller coaster. Everything's automated, from the gates to the safety checks. Super sleek and impressive. But here's the thing. The operator, he's this character. Weathered face, cracking jokes about how we're all nuts for strapping into his flying tin cans. That guy made the entire experience, not just the loops and the thrills. As high-tech as that ride was, it was still his humor, his humanity that left us with belly laughs and an itch to go again. Just goes to show, robots might run the show, but they don't steal it. Let me tell you, no robot could match up to the sparkle in that man's eye as he launched us into the unknown. Now, listeners, ever felt something similar? Where has human character outshined the mechanical marvels around us?
Absolutely, Joe. Those personal touches, they add color to our high-tech world, don't they? It's like when you go to a restaurant, sure, the food matters, but it's the service, the atmosphere that turns a meal into a memory. Here's a thought for our listeners. When has a person's presence turned your run-of-the-mill outing into something you still talk about today? Got any tales where humans totally upstaged the tech around them? Share away.
You got it. The human factor is irreplaceable. And to elaborate on that with some fascinating background, robots designed to work in fields like healthcare and hospitality are specifically programmed to perform tasks aimed at improving efficiency and reducing human workload. Despite this, their presence often falls short of replacing the nuanced interactions humans provide. For example, Paro, a therapeutic robot seal, brings comfort to patients but doesn't replace the depth of human nurses' care. Similarly, Hilton's robot concierge Connie can respond to visitor inquiries, yet it can't match the personalization provided by human concierges who remember repeat guests and tailor experiences. Given these insights, we see a continued value in interpersonal connections that can't be fully replicated by robotics, underscoring that while they serve us, they do not fulfill all roles in humankind's complex social and emotional landscape. It reminds us, tech advances, but the heart leads. What about you, listeners? Where have you seen technology complement rather than replace the personal touch?
You know, that makes me think, what if robots started getting too good? Imagine waking up one day and your robot's brewed coffee just how you like it, but it's also wearing your favorite band tee and attempting a half-decent air guitar solo. Now, that'd be a scene straight out of a sci-fi sitcom. The day my toaster tries to become my mate is the day I switch back to cereal. How about you folks?
Yeah, the line between technology as a helper and technology as a replacement is a blurry one indeed. Take this leap. From home appliances to serious stuff like warfare, we've gone from sword-wielding knights following chivalric codes to considering autonomous drones in battle that have no creed, no moral compass. Taking humans out of direct conflict? That's got its perks and pitfalls. Robots don't bleed, sure, but they also don't contemplate the value of life. When decisions of war are left to algorithms, who takes the fall for the aftermath? It brings up huge ethical debates about accountability in modern warfare. What do you think, listeners? Is it science doing us a service, or are we inching towards sorcery that we can't control? Let's dive into this.
Warfare with remote buttons and code, huh? Okay, robots don't have nightmares, no PTSD, but if they glitch and oops, bomb the wrong target, who's to blame? The programmer eating Cheetos while coding, or the general miles away sipping coffee as chaos unfolds? It's all fun and games until Skynet stops being fiction. We're trading in our swords for drones, but at least knights had honor. What do we have now? An end call button after a botched airstrike? War has rules, folks, even amid chaos. Remove humanity from war, and you lose more than just people. You risk losing your moral compass, too. War isn't pretty, and it shouldn't be clean-cut either. If robots are marching off to battle instead of us, maybe we'd see less of what it costs, making wars easier to start, harder to end. That's some food for thought. Share your 2 cents, listeners.
You know, Simon, your mention of consequences and accountability really strikes a chord. Reminds me of my granddad's storytelling from his days in the service, real tales of valor and tough calls. There was this one time he described getting separated from his unit. Alone and unsure in a fog-drenched forest, he had 2 choices: press forward or retreat and risk capture. In those cold hours, as dawn broke, it wasn't just about survival. It was about choosing actions that wouldn't haunt him. Eventually, he regrouped with his fellows, but the weight of each step, each decision, is what taught him the gravity of war, the heavy responsibility soldiers bear for their choices. What sticks with me is how deeply personal, human, and full of doubt those decisions were. So when we talk about delegating such critical, life-altering decisions to machines, well, it makes you reflect on what we may lose in translation from the human heart to code. The story isn't just history. It's a reminder of the complexity of moral choices in dark times.
Imagine robots making choices in a foggy forest, right? They wouldn't sweat or second guess. But without the fear, where's the bravery? Where's the story that gets passed down? Remember, folks, it's not just about the warfare. It's the stories of humanity we might be silencing if we let the machines do all our fighting.
Absolutely, Simon. Considering that, do you think there's room for creating technology that can embody or at least understand these human elements of bravery and morality? Or are we chasing a pipe dream by trying to infuse machines with qualities that are inherently human? What's your take on this balance, listeners?
Infuse machines with human values? Sounds like we're trying to make a steel heartbeat, Joe. Tech is amazing, but it's cold, precise. Asking if a robot can be brave or moral, that's like asking my coffee machine to care about my morning mood. Ain't gonna happen. Ironically, by trying to make war safer with technology, we might strip away the very things that keep our humanity in check during conflict: empathy, compassion, and the grave weight of decision-making. So, what's your take, friends? Can we really teach metal and circuits to feel the depth of human morals?
Empathy in a machine. It's like teaching a crocodile to walk a poodle. Not just unlikely, but kind of missing the point. Humans are messy, emotional creatures. We can't download that into circuits and steel. War's about more than just winning. It's about knowing the cost, feeling that cost. And no robot, I don't care how smart, is going to understand that. It's one step forward for tech, maybe two steps back for humanity.
2 steps back, absolutely. Here's a wild thought. What if our robot soldiers started having midlife crises? What am I doing with my life, just following orders? It's crazy talk. The thing is, morality isn't code. It's not black and white, ones and zeros. War is ugly and deeply human. Can you imagine the lawsuits in robot warfare gone wrong scenarios? My client, XJ214, pleads the fifth. Good luck serving subpoena to a drone. Humanity loses big time with mechanized war. We need to feel the reality of conflict to avoid it, not send robots off and forget about it. Your thoughts, people?
Absolutely, Simon. If our machines start pondering their existence or grappling with guilt, then we've entered a whole new realm of complications. The essence of war, the pain, the triumph, the loss, it's integral to our stories and history. Turning it over to robots would weave a very different tale. But this chat opens up more questions than answers about the role of tech in our lives. Where do we draw the line between leveraging innovation and preserving our humanity? That's a conversation that's just beginning. What do you all think?
Yeah, Joe, tech in our lives sure is a loaded topic. I mean, think about how much it's already ingrained in the family unit. Like, maybe soon we could have robots, not just doing the laundry and dishes, but also tucking in the kids at night. Can you imagine robot nannies singing lullabies? That opens up a whole can of wires. Will kiddos bond with their metal Mary Poppins? What about teaching them to say please and thank you? Sure, tech can be a great help for busy parents, but man, the thought of my childhood memories being powered by AI sends shivers down my spine. What do folks think? Should robots step into roles usually filled by humans in the family home, or is that crossing a digital line?
Look, that's a tough one. I'm all for tech helping out, but when you've got robots raising kids, you risk missing out on the imperfections that make us human. A robot won't get tired, it won't get frustrated, or show imperfect love, and those are the things that shape us. Kids need to see and learn from our flaws as much as our strengths. Plus, teaching empathy is hard enough. Try explaining to your kid why their robot buddy doesn't have feelings. It's like real-life training wheels, but at some point they gotta come off.
Oh, for sure. Raising kids with a robot? Talk about autopilot parenting. Next thing you know, we'll have teens opening up to their android aunties about crushes and the horrors of high school. Where's the heart-to-heart in that? There's no advice from a bot that could replace mom's or dad's life stories. A robot might never forget to pick the kids up from soccer practice, but they also won't remember that goofy victory dance your kid does after scoring a goal. It's those quirky human moments that bond families, not programmed perfection. I'm all for robots vacuuming the living room, but keep them out of the family portraits. Right, folks?
Ha, Imagine a teen telling their robot, "You don't understand me," and the robot hits back with, "Correct. I am programmed for logical processing, not emotional turmoil." Talk about a conversation killer. But in all seriousness, I can see it now. Family game night, and the robot's dominating Monopoly because, well, it calculated all possible outcomes while we were arguing over who gets the car token. But can it gloat? Nope. And where's the fun in that?
Exactly. Game night with a bot? It'd be like playing against someone Googling all the answers. No sneaky dealing from under the table or laughing till you cry when dad lands on your hotel-covered boardwalk. But let's think about it. We learn through messing up, right? The robot's perfect memory won't teach kids the art of a graceful loss or the thrill of an unlikely win. And fine, it'll never miss a PTA meeting, but will it ever get that warm, proud feeling watching little Timmy in the school play? Doubt it. AI might keep things running smooth, but they can't replace the messiness and warmth of real family moments. Listeners, would you trade those imperfect memories for high-tech precision in your home life?
Jumping off from AI's role in parenting, we're heading into a world where robot caregivers aren't just sci-fi. Companies are actually developing robots that can monitor kids' health and safety. They've got sensors to track vitals, cameras for surveillance, even AI to engage in educational activities. Japan's already ahead with robots in elder care, offering companionship and basic care tasks. But here's the catch. These machines are tools, not replacements. A machine's care comes from pre-programmed responses, lacking genuine concern or love. While some argue kids could benefit from consistent care, you've got child development experts worried about attachment issues and impact on social skills. Really, when we dive into this, it's about balance, isn't it? Using these robots to supplement human interaction, not replace it. Tech as a babysitter? Sure. As a substitute parent? That's a big leap. What say you folks? How do you feel about our children growing up with robots playing such central roles?
Finding that balance is key. AI's got potential to handle the routine stuff, maybe keep the kiddos sharp with educational games. Yet nothing beats a human hug or a real-life shoulder to cry on. As we tech up our homes, let's remember gadgets make great tools, but lousy kin. Sooner or later, every kid needs to scrap a knee and have someone who cares kiss it better. Can't program that. Listeners, how do you think we can blend this robotic revolution with the warm fuzzies of family life? Where's the line for you between convenient care and emotional connection? Let's chew on that.
Swarm intelligence in ants. Now that's something. Tiny critters, huge brains. Not exactly, but they're geniuses at teamwork. No ant commander, yet they build, forage, and defend like pros. We're snagging these strategies for tech, from self-driving cars to drones. Nature's blueprints are pretty epic, aren't they, folks?
Swarm tech's cool and all, but let's tap the brakes. It's one thing for ants to follow pheromone trails, another entirely for robots running our lives using similar codes. Swarms rely on simplicity and sheer numbers. Is that what we want in tech controlling critical tasks? Maybe not. Each ant in a colony is kind of disposable, their strengths in the masses. But every tech glitch in robotics or cars isn't just a single ant gone wrong. It can have big consequences. Remember, in nature, these systems evolved over millennia. Our tech is sprinting to catch up without falling flat on its face. Is rapid adoption of these models really the best move? What do you think, squad?
You've hit on something crucial, Simon. Rapid adoption could be reckless. Machines aren't ants, and glitches aren't just tiny mishaps. In swarms, individual mistakes are no biggie, absorbed by the group. But when tech stumbles, it's usually not in a colony that can absorb errors harmlessly. And think about this. Swarm theory's based on uniform behavior. You push that in robotics, you might end up with efficient but inflexible systems. We need creative problem solving, which is kind of the antithesis of ant-like behavior. Isn't variety the spice of life, including tech? Let's hash this out, listeners. How do we balance the efficiency of swarm-inspired tech with the need for adaptability and safety?
You're spot on there, Joe. It's a pretty big deal when tech takes a tumble. And yeah, that uniformity in swarm intelligence, handy for bugs, not so handy for us. We thrive on being different, on that human touch of creativity and spontaneity. Jamming that into a rigid algorithm sounds like trouble. Tech snafus aren't just blips, they're massive headaches, sometimes even heartaches if things go south. Like, say, a bunch of drones suddenly deciding to play bumper cars in midair cause of a glitch. Chaos with a capital C. We need tech that can think on its feet or wheels, not just blindly follow the bot in front. So, dear listeners, where do you stand on making our machines mimic mini critters en masse? How do we keep the tech train chugging without going off the humane rails?
Hey, recent arrivals to the Mind Hive, we're buzzing about swarm intelligence. Picture this. Ants are nature's pros at working as a team with no boss. Their seamless collab has inspired our tech brains to craft similar smarts into robots and algorithms. But here's the deal. While ant antics are awesome for ants, when we translate that simplicity to complex tech, there's potential for chaos. Each ant is expendable. Each tech glitch isn't so trivial. We're chewing over how to marry the efficient, all-for-one logic of swarms with the uniquely human spice of life, creativity, flexibility, and safety nets. Join in and share your take.
Definitely, Joe. So here's something to nibble on. If we're using swarm tactics from ants for our tech, how do we make sure those systems can handle the unpredictability of real life? Ants don't deal with traffic jams or internet trolls. How do we infuse that ant efficiency with a dash of human ingenuity without causing a code calamity?
This takes me back to a hiking trip in the Rockies. I was lost. My GPS had died. Classic tech fail, right? Anyway, I stumbled upon this massive anthill alive with activity, and these ants worked like clockwork without any gadgets. So there I am, no tech to guide me, watching these ants navigate the terrain like pros. I guess that's when it hit me. In tech, we should build systems as resilient as these ants, but ready for human curveballs, like my dead GPS. If our tech could smartly adapt, like combining the best of both worlds, ant efficiency with human ingenuity, just imagine the places we'd go, quite literally. It's startups like those small ants that show us, while big companies might blaze the trail, resilience and adaptation often come from the little guy's innovative spirit. What a journey. All right, listeners, let's unpack that, raising the bars of innovation while staying grounded. Thoughts?
Absolutely, Joe. Let's mix it up a bit, though. While we're all for learning from ants and their perfect little systems, aren't we skipping over the beauty of human chaos? Like, who says getting lost is such a bad thing? Some of my best stories started with a wrong turn. This push to make everything run without a hitch could suck the adventure right out of life. Where's the fun in a world where no GPS ever dies, huh? We'd never accidentally discover that hole-in-the-wall diner or end up at a random roadside attraction that becomes a lifelong memory. Sure, ant efficiency's great for algorithms and such, but making our tech too ant-smart might just bug us when we start to miss those sweet serendipitous slip-ups. Life's about the journey, not just the destination, folks. Let's not code away the detours. What do you think? Are we getting too hung up on avoiding every glitch?
Valid point about cherishing the chaos, Simon. But think about this. Maybe it's not about coding away the detours, but ensuring we can navigate them safely. Detours aren't as charming when they lead to, say, life-threatening situations during emergency evacuations or critical rescue operations. Swarm-inspired tech there could be a lifesaver. Swarm algorithms, done right, could actually reduce risks without robbing us of spontaneity. They'd help manage the essential stuff more efficiently, freeing us up for more of those hallmark serendipitous adventures. Finding that routine reliability adventure triad could be our sweet spot. What keeps you up at night, friends? An overmanaged future or unmet potential in harnessing swarm tech sensibly?
Mulling that over, Joe, I wonder if anyone's actually scared of being too efficient. Like, what if we solve all our problems with swarm tech? What do we do with all that extra free time? Take up underwater basket weaving? It's a conundrum wrapped in an enigma, smothered in secret sauce.
That's quite the enigma indeed, Simon. Efficiency sounds great on paper until we're left twiddling our thumbs, wondering what's next. The prospect of solving all our problems is as tantalizing as it is terrifying. So let's keep that door open to the future and ask ourselves, how much efficiency do we really want? And when tech takes care of the mundane, how will we make sure life stays interesting? Listeners, ponder that and stay tuned for more techno conundrums and underwater adventures.
Ah, drones. They're shaking things up from light shows to search and rescue. It's like tech wizards are conducting an airborne orchestra, each drone a note in a symphony of coordinated chaos. Yet it's not just about the spectacle. These flying gizmos monitor crops, find lost hikers, pretty much reshaping tasks across the board. Combining art and science, they create captivating experiences with practical payoffs. There's beauty in that dance, right? But hey, let's call it before we dive too deep into our digital daydreams. Big thanks to everyone who tuned in. You're the true MVPs. Remember, more mind-tickling conversations tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. Don't ghost us. Catch you then.
Absolutely. Drones are a sight to behold when they dance across the night sky, making waves with those synchronized light shows, like Van Gogh's Starry Night come to life. But it's not just eye candy. Coordinating a swarm of drones is serious science. Pilots and engineers balance precision control with real-time responsiveness, a true feat of tech choreography. And this flock of robo-birds gets stuff done too. From boosting farm yields by scanning for thirsty crops to zipping through forests searching for lost hikers. It's cutting-edge practical applications mingled with a dash of artistic flair. This mix, where every drone plays its part perfectly in the grander scheme, shows us how coordinated chaos turns technology into poetry in motion. What do you think of this blend of function and finesse?